Alcatraz Breakout, directed by Nick Millard. This film was lost since 2021. It was originally released in 1975. So yeah, people found it in 2021. This movie only has 13 IMDb reviews. Well, at least it has more IMDb reviews than its Alcatraz Alligators. This movie came out in 1975, 4 years before the Don Siegel classic Escape from Alcatraz, which came out in 1979. So we see a man get arrested for no reason. Was he stalking a woman or something? Did he follow a woman on that cruise ship? No, he just gets arrested for no reason. So far, the most guilty person is that old cop in a suit because he committed through the cloths gay rape. But no, this guy just gets arrested for no reason. A crime, a man committing crime could have been an exciting scene, but we don't get that. So he says that this prison is unescapable. That was not true even by his film's release, because somebody escaped from Alcatraz in 1962 by making fake human heads out of soap and concrete and actual human hair. So, yeah, this film already has a inaccuracy, and they say that they shock the prisoners a lot for target practice. Like they use a taser. Do we see somebody get tased in this film? No, because that will be exciting. I mean, I know getting tased is painful, and I don't want to see a actor get tased for real, but I'm sure there's a way you can fake being tased. You just have like a string that's light up. The man gets a double 13. That is a very unlucky number, Gabe, because 13 is an unlucky number. Freaking hilarious, right? He meets a man named Joe Fraser who was arrested for counterfeiting, and during this entire scene, we get to hear the sounds of a boat. And I guess it's a freaking joke because the boat sounds like it's farting. Actually, maybe I shouldn't make fun of this scene because it's actually very relatable because he's having trouble sleeping because of the sounds of the boat. That is actually a very real and relatable scene. This scene is kind of good. We learn that Joe Fraser's father died about 8 years ago. So they start having a smoke break. This was actually true. Prisoners did get 15-minute smoke breaks. And he talks about how he has a daughter and wife outside the prison. All of this information help us relate to the characters more. And they also talk about how there's glass inside the walls, so it's very hard to escape. And this scene where we see his wife and daughter provides a nice contrast from the prison to the outside world, showing how claustrophobic and depressing the prison really is in comparison. And the music here is actually pretty good. John Grant starts talking to himself out loud, very loud, and he's counting. But this is actually true. The prisoners did start to talk to ghosts because of how isolated they are. But why would he be saying as something as simple as counting to a ghost? Is he talking to a ghost child and teaching the ghost child how to count?
2, 3, 4, 5.
So he talks to one of the prisoners who's a librarian. He's a librarian for the prison. And he tells him he wants a book on how to tunnel out. I guess you can say that information to another prisoner because they're probably not gonna rat you out. Joe Fraser talks about a god's ass. He actually has some very clever jokes in this film. and the acting isn't that bad. It's actually pretty good acting. We learned that he got arrested for robbing banks, and before he robbed banks, he was a cactus farmer. So the warden tells him to plant cactuses because Alcatraz is now a tourist attraction. Joe Fraser tells him he can escape by swimming to a boat, but that is a very difficult thing to do because the boat is probably not going to let down a ladder for you. The ferry probably isn't going to let down a ladder for you because you're a prisoner. He starts planting cactuses. So we see no cactuses. They're not holding any cactuses. So they could just be making holes in the dirt with a hoe. And he cuts his leg with a hoe. He forgot how to farm. In this movie, you can afford cactuses. They're not that expensive. You can buy them at any flower store. So he starts tackling down the warden, but the warden has a shotgun, so the warden could just shoot him. Wait, I guess that would be the death penalty, and you don't get the death penalty for robbing banks. Well, the warden could still try to kick him or punch him or something. He shouldn't be this easy to take down. And why is he undressing the warden? This is getting weird. Oh, I see. He's tying up the warden's hands with his tie. As he's planting cactuses again, there's no cactuses in frame. He undresses the army sergeant to disguise as an army sergeant so he can go on the ferry. And they should have had another warden watch over him, but I guess they didn't do that. So he's able to escape. So he starts riding the ferry to an island 8 minutes away. Okay, I guess he caught the ferry at a time when it was parked next to the dock, so it didn't have to swim. So the warden is able to catch him. And we never saw the warden catch him. They skipped over that. That could have been an exciting scene. So we see a flashback to his family. And this is actually a pretty good scene. And it's very emotional, and it's necessary to show a contrast from the prison to the outside world. So we get to know how dark and depressing and claustrophobic the prison is in comparison to his happy life that was outside. So he talks to his wife, and this is actually a very good emotional scene. The acting here is really good and real. So they talk about how hard it is to escape from the prison. Like it would take over 400 sticks of dynamite to break through the concrete. And we get a very dark scene when one of the prisoners kills himself with a razor. We get another dark scene when he starts losing teeth from not brushing his teeth. This movie is just full of realistic, dark scenes. It's actually a very brave film. This film is actually kind of really good. He broke his teeth because he was using his teeth to bite down the bars. That would probably take longer than the years that you're in there. So he talks to a librarian about robbing banks, and this is a very sick scene. And the acting is so monotone that it makes what they're saying even sicker because they're just being so casual about it. Again, the acting here is really good and not over top. This movie actually has really good actors who have not acted in a film before. The black guy is a also very likable character. He talks about how he's gonna get out in 8 days, and this guy's so likable, and I even know what he did, and I actually do want to see him get out. So this movie is actually very good at making me care about these prisoners. Oh, and I almost forgot. there's a quick reference to a vacuum because there was one time when prisoner used a vacuum to suck up a key to escape. That is actually a very good quick reference. So he's able to escape out of jail by using the razor from the man who committed suicide to break the bars. But the guard and warden catch him again and put him back in jail. And as he's trying to plan another plan to escape, the warden shoots him. And as he gets shot, we get a flashback to his family. This is another scene of hope, but the movie ends on a very dark note with him dying. So that's Alcatraz Breakout. This movie was surprisingly pretty good, even though it had some flaws. And it did have some dull moments, but the dull moments are really good at capturing the claustrophobic feel. And even though it could have had some exciting scenes with him breaking out of prison, this movie is pretty good and is good at working with its budget. Nick Miller actually had some real talent, and it shows in this film. I actually kind of recommend this movie.